Hi, Parrot's here with Richie Cranny, MMA coach out of Australia. He is the creator and brains behind Wimp to Warrior, a new reality TV series which takes ordinary people with no MMA background and turns them into MMA fighters. We're going to talk to him today about his show and what his plans are for the future. Richie, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure to have you, bud.
Let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, pleasure, thanks.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about your background in mixed martial arts. What got you into the sport?
As a kid, I boxed through school. My school I went to in London. I'm originally from London. There was pretty much two sports. We had football or boxing. I took up boxing. Loved it. When I left school, I did the usual girls and cars thing for a couple of years and then found my way back to martial arts. And started this street fighting martial art back in 93, I think, something like that. Anyway, a long time ago. And just fell in love with it. You know, I just trained and trained for a black belt, and opened my own club. And then the martial art kind of evolved as MMA did. We all started watching Pride and UFC back then.
Right.
Some members of the Gracie family came out, instructors, in 96, and introduced to jiu-jitsu, and we were just like, wow, this is the next thing for us. And we started wrestling and grappling, and that was it. You know, we were one of the first legit MMA clubs and forums in the UK, and I've just been doing it ever since.
Gotcha. Can you tell us a little bit about Pro Mai? Now that's something we haven't heard very often, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are into mixed martial arts haven't heard very much about it, but that's something that you are a specialist at. Tell us a little bit about the extent of that and how that kind of came to be.
It's it originated from my start way back, and myself and my coach at the time, and Lee Aylen, we just became huge fans of MMA, and we used to just take things and experiment with them. We used to do competitions and training and stuff, and just really try to mould. We wanted a style that could really encompass MMA. We incorporated wrestling, like I say, jiu-jitsu. Our striking was pretty good anyway. We've been striking for a long time. And we just came up with the name Aggressive Martial Arts Initiatives, and that's basically what Pro Mai stands for. And
Okay.
we've been doing, like I say, MMA for probably 15 years, legitimately. And,
Gotcha.
It does well in the UK. They've got a strong team over there. And I've been teaching and training it over here in Australia for the last 10 years.
Excellent.
Did you always have it in mind to be a coach, or did you initially begin MMA to compete and be a competitor?
Coaching's always been my thing, to be
Okay.
honest. I just think, people are just born to either coach or fight, you know. And
Right.
I did compete. I did 6 amateurs as I was coming through, and I had a professional fight, but then I got injured, which kind of forced me into coaching. But fighting was always a test for me. We'd test out some new stuff in our system, and we just always wanted to try and see how it worked in real style. And that's basically what fighting was for me, just a test. I'd never really had any desires to become a pro fighter. I just love coaching. I've always wanted to be a coach, and I just love teaching MMA.
It's pretty apparent in watching Wimp to Warrior that that is definitely a constant with you. You could see the ferocity with which you get in there, and you make sure that your team is on top of each individual the way that you want it to be done, and I think coaching is probably definitely a strong suit for a guy like you.
Yeah, look, it's something I take really personal. It's like I say, I haven't really been anything particularly good in my adult life apart from coaching. I've dabbled in a few things in the building trade when my clubs were quiet, whatever. But coaching is something I've always just found natural, you know. And passion. I think if you're passionate about something, you can always convey that to others.
Sure.
I'm very passionate about MMA and growing the sport and making it legitimised as well by you guys, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's just something I feel very strong for, and I think that comes across when you coach.
Absolutely, yeah, it definitely comes through.
So coaching is your calling, and you've managed to turn it into a new idea, Wimp to Warrior. Tell us about the evolution of that idea. Where did it all start? Where did the idea come from?
You're just kind of sitting around one day, or?
Yes. Sorry.
Were you just kind of sitting around one day and the idea kind of moved you, or?
Yeah, I was kind of playing around with different ideas since moving to Australia. The UK was always, when I was back in UK was always a little bit behind America in terms of progression and being accepted as a sport in media and even things like gyms being around. And when I moved to Australia, it was like I'm going back in 5 years in the UK, so it was kind of, oh man, it's got to start again. It was still banned in New South Wales to fight a cage. And it was just really frowned upon. So I spent all this time trying to build different ideas to try and get more people into the sport. And I've always tried to get white collars into the sport, because not only have they got the money to help build gyms, but they also control a lot of what people see and feel about sport. You know, the
Sure.
white collar people who tend to be in the media. You know,
Absolutely.
If you can get white collar people into any kind of sport, it kind of almost legitimises it straight away.
Yeah.
So I opened a gym in Sydney, Platinum Extreme, and it was purely designed for white collar workers, just really premium and teaching MMA. And then you know, there's only so much you can do. You're kind of compassed in this small area in Sydney, and I wanted to. Didn't have the time to start looking at gyms around Australia, so I was thinking a way that I could try and get as many eyeballs of what I'm trying to do here as possible. So I initially thought I was in the sea and I'd come out and I was having acupuncture on my back, and I just had this thought, you know, why don't I just advertise on Facebook and train someone for 6 months for nothing, and just see if I can train them and turn them into an MMA fighter, and just really be precise on who I want to get, someone that would come across really well, someone with no experience, you know. And so I put it on my Facebook page, and overnight I just had dozens and dozens and dozens of emails come through. A couple of people shared it.
Wow.
My strength coach Rachel Guy, she shared it on her Facebook page. She's got a very strong following. So I sat down with Rachel and I was like, this is just nuts, you know. And, so we just decided just to expand it, and I said, look, I'm going to try and take 20 people on. Mm-hmm. So I opened it up, and we had over 400 applications in the first week. And then my idea with them is, rather than do it on Facebook, let's try and get this on TV. So
right.
I spoke to a couple of guys about it, and just couldn't get the funds together to try and push for a TV deal straight off. So we decided to do a web series.
Sure.
Which I think kind of worked out better, because if we'd done a TV series straight off in in Australia, it would have been only seen in Australia.
Right.
Whereas the web series, you can kind of go viral, and
Absolutely.
we've had a huge following from the States. You know, most of our traffic comes from the States, which bodes well for going out there as well. So
Absolutely.
It's kind of worked well, being a web series first of all, and the next thing for us is to try and push for Series 2 here on TV, and then go elsewhere. We've had strong following in Malaysia. There's a company out there that approached me to do a domestic Wimp tour out there, which is what I want to do. You know, I really believe that, you know, things like Tough, Ultimate Fire, etc., UFC do brilliant for sport. You know,
right.
UFC's done one, do
Right.
Strikeforce, Bellator, but you know, people look at these sports and these sportsmen, and they're so evolved now. The people sit on the couch and go, you know, I could never be like that. These guys are just way above what I could ever do. But Wimp's Warrior kind of proves that anyone can do this sport, and it's not just about sitting on your ass in your living room watching the sport. Get
right.
up, get down the gym, and start getting involved. And I think that's what Wimp's Warrior can do for the sport. You know, and I think it's got the possibilities of pushing it to mainstream, which would be awesome.
Absolutely. I think you've been fortunate in that the concept itself hasn't been touched. The idea with all of the reality series and different programs and spins on reality shows these days, and the popularity growth of mixed martial arts into the mainstream, you've kind of you found a niche. Nobody thought to do that, and I commend you for it. It's a wonderful idea. In looking at some of the episodes on YouTube, I was drawn in from the first episode. I mean, it's phenomenally put together. The team that you've got working on it, coaches and everybody seem to be performing, exactly as you wanted to. And looking at the first episode, you kind of discussed a little bit about what your goal was, and then watching some of the following episodes, you can kind of see that goal come to fruition.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I was lucky to have some really good coaches on the series, and the production team all gelled really well. And,
Were there?
It's come, the pilot. The web series is done pretty much like a 7-episode pilot. We had to do it this way because we go to a network and say, one, we got to go over the stigma of being MMA, which there is a still big stigma in Australia.
Right.
But two, you've got to say, I'm going to train someone 6 months. Here's a 10-minute clip. This is what we want to do, which is be a normal pilot to go to a network. But I actually had to prove to myself and to others that we could change and train people within 6 months, because it's 6 months is nothing in training. But the training's so full on with this. The guys are training 4 or 5 times a week, and the coaches I've got, it worked. And I didn't really know if it would work till the finale. The guys were doing really well in training, but as you guys know, and anyone in the sport, fighting is just way more than just what you can do on the mat in training.
Yeah,
to try and mentally prepare people to step in the cage and fight someone is a huge undertaking as well. And the guys performed, and I was just so chuffed on the finale. They've done so well.
That having been said, now looking back at having gone through the first season, what things do you think you might want to do differently going into season 2, and some of the things you may have learned through the first season and that first venture into it?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I think one of the main things for me is a bigger pool of people.
Okay.
I took 32 on for the first series, and the dropouts are pretty strong. You guys watch the series.
Yeah.
Every week we were having guys drop out. Some injuries, but the first phase was a lot of people deciding this is too tough. So I want to take 50 people for series 2. I want to have a full card. I struggled to get 8 fights in series 1. I want to get 12 fights for series 2. The other thing as well is I want to make sure that in series 1, because it was just such an experiment, a lot of the guys were training with me and then doing extra training elsewhere. And I really want to make sure it's a completely even playing field. Everyone trains Wimp to Warrior. So if you sign up 6 months, you only train with us. So little things like this, you don't think of until you're into it, and then it's too late to start telling people they can't train at their local gym.
Sure.
But yeah, I think apart from that, I think there'll be some format will change slightly. I want more training in the episodes. Team that we used, damn good, were awesome, but they were very adamant that we need to do a lot of talking and a lot of interviews and stuff, which they need to do. But I think people also want to see a lot more action, and I want to see a lot more training in Series 2 on the actual screen.
Excellent.
So when does Series 2 begin? When does filming begin?
Well, we're hoping to start in the next couple of months. I've got 120 people I'm going to invite in for a tryout in the next probably 6 to 8 weeks. And then from that 120, I'm probably going to invite 50 or 60, depending on how we go, and weight categories as well, to start filming. My plan is in October. It seems a long way away, but there's a lot to do. I still haven't nailed down a venue for Series 2. So I'm talking to a few gyms. I'm looking at maybe taking a space on my own for 6 months and just keep it down. So there's a bit to do.
And so you'll have male and female competitors, and you'll have weight classes. Is it ranging from featherweight to heavyweight?
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's hard to say without getting through the tryouts.
Right.
See who comes along. I mean, it would make my job a lot easier if I only had 2 or 3 weight classes, because if you have dropouts, the matchups become easy. But I think it's good again for the series for people to really, everyone that watches it to be able to relate to someone on the screen. So to have a huge range of weights, male and female, I think your demographic, your target audience is really covered, no matter who's watching it. So I guess it's kind of wait and see when the tryouts happen, really.
So, Richie, the UFC has The Ultimate Fighter. Bellator has their new show called Fight Masters.
Yep.
Would you be interested in partnering with a promotion kind of like, say, World Series of Fighting, who has a new deal with NBC Sports Network? Do you think you could form a partnership with an organization like that and have your reality TV series be a part of their, promotion and network deal?
Absolutely. Look, all I want to do is get as many people to watch this as possible.
Sure.
As I've said, the point of this series is purely just to build the sport of MMA. I want, if I can get on and partner with someone like that, it'd be awesome. I'm not trying to just protect Wimp to Warrior and it's mine.
Sure.
That's not what it's about. It's all about just building the sport. Trying to make this mainstream. Everything that we're doing at the moment is great and it's building the sport and we get more people watching it, but we need more people training it. That's the difference. Gyms are struggling. There's no, you talk to anyone with a fight gym, there's no money in fight gyms.
Sure.
So we need to get people that are training MMA that not necessarily want to fight, but want to do it as a sport. And that's what, 10 years ago, people, if you heard that someone was doing boxing, you'd be like, shit, they're in a ring, they're fighting. People do boxing. Everyone does boxing for sport, as recreational sport and for fitness. And that's what MMA needs.
Yeah,
sure. I think that Wimp to Warrior will bring more people into the gym. So gym owners, don't do it tough anymore.
Yeah.
We get more MMA gyms, more legitimate coaches, everything. It all goes down the line. More publications, more people into sport, more people on the websites. The sport just grows and gets much more healthier. And I think that's what we need. So the answer is yes. I'm definitely partnering with someone, for sure.
That would be great. That would be a good opportunity to, especially with a series that's coming up that Brad had mentioned, the World Series of Fighting. They're still relatively new and making a pretty strong way for themselves. I think with the crossover to the States of Wimp to Warrior and a little more exposure on that here, that might be the thing to thrust you into that next level, which is obviously what you're looking to pursue.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome.
And Richie, one challenge I might see is you're taking ordinary people, wimps, and turning them into MMA fighters. A show like The Ultimate Fighter and Fight Masters, they take people who already have a background in MMA, already, a lot of them are already fighters, fight professionally or, at an amateur level. Do you think in 5-6 months' time you could create a fighter who could fight in an organization like World Series of Fighting? It seems like that might be a challenge.
The point of the series isn't to thrust people into the pro circuit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that's not going to happen. But what I can do is get guys to a point, and I have done it in this previous series, that if they want to carry on training, then they join their local gym and they get training. And I've got two guys. I've got a guy, Francis Cullimore, he's fighting in Series 1, he's fighting this weekend. I've got a couple of guys fighting in November, and they're doing the semi-pro rules still, no elbows, no knees. And then a couple of those fights absolutely turn pro, but they've got another year or so in training. But, like I say, that's not what I'm trying to do with this series. I'm trying to build this sport. And it's not about throwing people into a professional fight because, that wouldn't be pretty at their stage. But,
right.
It's amazing how much talent has come through this series. Guys that really want to train now.
And
guys that I can't come any training. They're going and joining new gyms and their friends are getting into the sport. But yeah, it's not about having them competing in like a big pro circuit after 6 months training. That's not, that's almost disrespectful for the guys that are in that circuit.
Well,
it takes years.
I think in a lot of ways what you're doing with Wimp to Warrior is in a certain way, I wouldn't rule that out. I wouldn't take it away from the realm of possibility. I think you're giving people an opportunity that they never had available. A lot of these guys that have been fighting for 10, 15 years or more, they've worked at it, they've been dedicated at it, and something brought them to that point in their life, whether or not they had somebody that was close to them that got them in a gym and got them started. If you look at it in terms of the way programs such as American Idol, for instance, takes a pool of regular people that nobody, otherwise may have ever seen on screen or have ever heard without years of, paying dues and going through the process and trying to break through, you're giving some people like that an opportunity. I don't think it would be unbelievable to see that maybe some of your fighters here going through the next couple of seasons of Wimp to Warrior actually take it to heart and try to compete on a pro level.
Absolutely, I'm hoping that happens. But what I'm saying is that's not going to happen after 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I've got guys that are going to be fighting from Series 1,
Mm-hmm.
and I really do hope he does find some stars. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It does happen, like you say. So, but what I'm saying is it's not going to happen after 6 months. Another idea that I'd like to do is and it could be through the website, is to have a team out of Wimp to Warrior, and you can have the Warriors fight team, and it's just guys that done the series and won their fights, and then we have a fight team, and then we can take that team to other clubs. And once this expands as well, you could follow on. We can have Team Australia, guys that won in their series of Wimp to Warrior, go and fight in the States or in Asia and stuff. There's lots of scope for this, absolutely.
That's a great idea. That sounds like something I'd like to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So you had a lot of support from MMA figures in the first season of Wimp to Warrior, guys like, Mark Hunt, Hoist Gracie you had there. Talk about your connections, your existing connections in the industry that could help you, really take it to the next level. That was cool to see those guys come out and support you. Has
anybody approached you after having seen what you've been able to put out there so far and said, hey, wow, what a great idea. We really like it. We're looking forward to seeing what you do next. Like a Dana White, for instance, or a Ray Sifo, or some of these guys.
No, not Dana or a lot of those guys, but I've had a lot of support. I've been contacted by some guys in Asia. Australia's got a very strong tie to Asia, demographically, and also just they share a lot of fighters and stuff and promotions. There's a promotion in Malaysia called the Malaysian Invasion, and they're kind of a similar kind of program that they take current amateurs and they film it and stuff, and they've asked me to maybe we can combine the two series, Wimp to Warrior fights Malaysian Invasion. I've had a lot of contact from people in the industry. Like our Facebook page when we first started this was just full of guys, people like Ken Shamrock, current fighters, previous fighters. There were so many. John McCarthy, all these guys just contacted saying this is brilliant. Good luck.
It really is.
We can do in the future and stuff, which is awesome. John McCarthy sent me a couple of messages on Twitter as well, saying if you bring out this to the States, I'd love to get involved. So there is definite strong following, and people in the industry. If you're a fighter, of course you want this kind of thing to work.
Sure,
absolutely.
More people follow you on Twitter. More people go and watch your fights, buy your T-shirts. It's just good for everyone.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and as you said, it helps overall continue to grow the industry.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So like Mark Hunt, he's obviously he's based in Australia, so he was a no-brainer for me. When I before I started filming, I contacted him and he was like, man, just let me know anything I can do as long as I'm in the country, because he obviously is in camps and fighting and stuff. But it was trying to find him, because Mark's one of these guys, he takes fights on short notice, so it's hard to plan with him. But I called him up on a Sunday night, it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and said, when can you come down? He goes, tomorrow morning, let's do it. 6 o'clock next morning, he's at the gym. He's just one of these guys that just, he'll do anything for anyone,
Well,
he's just a great guy.
Somebody is passionate.
John Sharp, the ref, he was great. I've known him for a few years from the circuits. Hoist was he was doing seminars locally, so I just got in contact with the guy that was basically organising all his seminars and said, look, please, can you you'd bring him down, and like he was happy to come down and help out, which was awesome. But like that was a major moment for me personally.
Absolutely.
And the guys, like some of the guys on the series, you probably realise that never even watched an MMA fight before. They didn't know what MMA was.
Yeah.
It was just, so to see Royce Gracie, it wasn't this amazing thing for them, but there was some guys on the series that have just been massive fans of sport for years, and it was jaw-dropping to see this guy walking in our gym.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah,
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who are some of your personal favorites right now? If you had to choose some of the fighters at the top of the game, and I won't drag you into a conversation about the Spider or anything like that. And there's been enough controversy and talk around him. But do you tend to lean towards European fighters like a Michael Bisping or?
Look, you know, I'm English. I was born in England and stuff. I follow the Australian fighters, but there's always personally, if England's playing anything in sport, I always draw to them. I like Bisping. You know, he's a bit controversial, but Ross Pearson, I really like.
Yeah.
In terms of his guys, I've met Ross a few times. He trained at my gym in Sydney.
Okay.
His girlfriend, actually, here's a little scoop. His girlfriend Christy worked at my gym, and she was on reception when he turned up to do a seminar at my gym, and he stole her from me.
All right, Ross.
Now she's a ring girl for the UFC, and she's an awesome chick.
Well, and speaking.
He come along, saw her on my reception at my gym, and invited her to the UFC, and that was it.
Speaking of ladies being a part of the program, now your strength coach is definitely adding, I think, some appeal to the overall show. I know a lot of fellas that have watched it with us have made comments about her beauty and just to see somebody strong and attractive like that. Just I think is definitely a good asset to have as a part of your show.
Yeah, look, I'm never going to draw people to the TV for looks. Rachel is she gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the reason why I had her on the series.
Oh no, I wouldn't.
For probably about 6 years,
Uh-huh.
I employed her at 2 of my gyms. When I move, she moves with me. Pretty much we're a strong team. She loves MMA. I've coached her in MMA for the last 4 or 5 years. But she's an awesome strength coach.
Well, and it comes out.
As well.
It does come out when you watch the show. It definitely comes out. She operates almost as an extension of you. When you look at a little bit earlier in an episode where you kind of lay out or diagram what it is you'd like to accomplish in that particular episode, and then you kind of see these things that Rachel carries out and some of the team members and coaches carry out. It's a very, very seamless thing, and that's a rarity. I don't think that you find that even in most professional gyms. There's always a little bit of difference of opinion, but you guys seem to work together very well.
Yeah, we've got a plan, from day one. We know what we've got to try and do. We all have our own slightly different ways of training, especially like myself, being purely MMA and someone like my jiu-jitsu coach, etc. We have conversations of what I do and don't want, and like pulling guards a real big no-no for me. I hate it, and stuff like that, So there are discussions outside of things, but everyone was on board, and like I say, Rachel was. I always pull her up. Rach, what do you reckon? This is like, I'm all over it. Yeah, let's do it. So she's very cool.
So right now you're looking at expanding Wimp to Warrior to the United States. What are some current challenges? What do you need to take Wimp to Warrior to the States and take it to the next level?
The biggest thing for me is probably financial. It's I'd love to get a phone call from someone saying, someone that's in production that would look to fund this.
Sure.
It's a no-brainer in terms of if it's done properly, that it would do really well, especially in the States.
Absolutely.
You kind of MMA in Australia is still nowhere near as popular as it is in Australia. Sorry, the other way around. Australia's not as popular.
Right.
Sorry, it's 5 a.m.
That's okay.
It's I know in the States. I've been contacted like like I say, by a lot of people on Facebook. People like yourself, guys like, this is great. I've had guys contact me saying, I'd love to be the host, tell me what I can do. Refs have got in touch with me. But that's amazing and that's great. And I know that I could just walk into most gyms and say, look, I want to base this here. And they'll be like, yep, let's do it. But the biggest thing is funding.
Right.
To find some funding, some investment into this, and a good production team out there as well in the States to do this and take this on. I think, like I say, it'd be a lot easier in America than it would be in Australia. Just to try and get it on TV here is tough.
Right.
But you've got vast more amount of channels and the sport's much more accepted.
Yeah.
Over there, so I just it's contacts in the States and just
Absolutely.
trying to get the right people to look at it really.
Okay.
Were there any surprises? Any of the guys or gals that you picked that you thought in the very beginning, okay, just not going to happen, or maybe throughout the course of filming, I just don't think I'm going to see anything come of this, that by the end of the season you were just like, wow.
Yeah, there was a couple. There was Jimmy. I don't know if you remember Jimmy. He was
Yeah.
a kind of big Paul guy. He's a very skinny guy. He was the guy we were trying to put muscle on at the beginning. We
Right.
took him to the lab.
Almost a poster boy for the show. I mean, he would have been a good poster guy for the show.
He's exactly what I want to get to the series,
Yeah.
Like I say, I didn't want just all skinny guys. I wanted to have a big range of people just to get everyone to relate to the series. But he told me like he'd been picked on his whole life, and, through school, adult life, through work, and never thrown a punch in his life. So it was a huge undertaking for him, and I was never quite sure on how he'd go. He struggled for the first few months. He told me at the end of the series that he almost dropped out after week 10. He signed up saying that he was just going to do the 10 weeks initial training, get fit, and then he'd never think about stepping into a cage. But you see these guys change, and there's certain elements that the training that you have light bulb moments with these guys, and you can see things turn on.
Right.
And Jimmy really flips the switch halfway through the series. So I was really looking forward to him fight. There was a girl, Sonia.
Right.
Yes, from the very beginning, I think Rachel had made a point to say that she saw something in her that she really wanted to work with her and felt like she could develop her very well.
Yeah, she definitely had the potential. She lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But she would never fire off in sparring. She would one of these people that she'd call you in sparring, she'd apologise straight away. Did I hurt you? And I was like, oh man, this could get nasty. This is the thing, right? And I had a lot of conversations with her. She just, I don't want to hit anyone. So until the finale, I wasn't sure how she would go. But she was just crazy. That was one of the best fights for me. Her and Laura.
Absolutely.
That was insane. And skill set, and I was so proud of the guys, because anyone can stand and throw punches and it kind of looks alright, but when you start wrestling and grappling and stuff, it really shows how much skill someone's got. And they all perform really well. And probably my favourite fight was Sheldon. I think there was fight 3 and Vaughan. The one that went, there were decisions, but that was just a bomb burner.
Yeah.
Was just wow.
Yeah.
There
And
was some great people in there.
that makes for a phenomenal episode as well. Even when people are watching professional fighters and some of these guys go at it, like for instance a Frankie Edgar Jose Aldo match, you want to see it go all the way. You want to see the last second countdown with fists still flying, and I think you're right. That was one of those moments.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had goosebumps. I get really nervous when I corner people anyway, professionally. I always feel for the guys, and when that cage shuts, I have a lot of emotions going on. But that finale, just having 16 people that I trained and cornered, have to sit there and watch all of them fight in one night was a roller coaster for me. But like I say, I was so proud. the atmosphere in that place as well, and that's something I've never experienced before. I've been to a lot of fights, been in the States, been UFC, all the domestic ones, UK and Australia, but I've never been somewhere with an atmosphere like that, because every single huge, we only took a room that would hold 600, just under. We sold out, and it was invested strongly in someone that was fighting. So all their friends and family just basically sold it out. So there was no one there just to watch fights. Everyone there was just heavily cheering for someone.
Right.
The atmosphere was like being at a football match back in the UK. It was just nuts.
I could see that. I could see that. There's definitely, and I think, not to take anything away from us here in the States, but I feel like overall, and you touched on it earlier, like, always pulling for the home team or the English teams. That's something that you see a little bit more of over in the UK and Australia and Asia, perhaps, is people have what appears to be more of a vested interest in, in seeing their favorite just go in there and do what they want to see.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, from your point of view. I mean, you kind of always hear, like, the Brazilian crowds in the States even, out cheering the Americans, which you always find weird.
Yeah.
But, yes, that's a shame. But maybe, who knows, Wimp to Warrior could change things in the States, eh?
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so.
And what was really impressive to see in the finale is the development of the fighters. They were, if you were to watch that final episode and not see the first 6 episodes, they looked like legitimate mixed martial artists. They knew what they were doing, their positioning, their technique. It was super impressive to see how far they came in 5 or 6 months. That's very telling.
Once you got to remember the nerve aspect for them as well. None of them were probably 100%. It's just, even professionals. You never perform on the night as good as you do in the training normally. Just mental battle in the cage. But yeah, they were just. I can't say enough about those guys. Everyone from Series 1 will be strongly affiliated with me in some way. I've got really good, strong friendships with most of the guys. They're a big part of everything we've done, and if those guys hadn't performed, Wimp to Warrior would have been shut down. No one had picked it up. No one had watched. Who's going to do it? It can't be done in 6 months.
Right.
So it was down to all those guys.
Yeah.
They ensured the success of this series moving on.
Sure.
I think it also stands testament to your passion and your ability as a coach, because you can see that reflected in the fighters too, when they would talk to you after having been in those brawls, and I think honestly you can see it makes sense to them a little bit more. All of the things that you pushed so hard for and that your team pushed them so hard for after that bout, after that turning point in the match, they come out with a real respect for what it was you were trying to accomplish by training them.
Yeah, look, it's one of those moments they never forget. For sure.
Yeah.
They'll be able to. It's kind of cliche, but you tell your grandkids, even if they never do this kind of thing again, all the guys are training. They've all joined their local MMA gyms and stuff and still training, but a lot of them will never fight again. It's just one of those, those things they tick off in life that, they set themselves a challenge and did, and they will never forget it. And until you go through that, then you kind of reflect back, and now now I understand.
It starts to make sense.
The arse kicking we had at 6 o'clock in the morning, the 1,000 sprawls for being late 2 minutes past the time, and all this kind of stuff. It all makes sense. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
So for our listeners at home, they can check out Wimp to Warrior on your website, wimptowarrior.com.au.
Check it out.
Yep.
You've also got all of the episodes on your site and on YouTube. They can watch episode 1 through 7 of that first season. You're on Twitter at Wimp2Warrior. They can also follow you, Richie Cranny, at Richie Cranny.
Yep.
And we're looking forward to season 2. We're looking forward to seeing Wimp to Warrior grow and come to the States. And Fight Parrots all on board to help you out and let us know what we can do for you.
It's
anyone watching this that wants to get MMA growing mainstream, give me a call, get in touch with me, Facebook me, whatever, Twitter me, and let's just do this.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for coming and getting up extra early to be on the show with us. We certainly appreciate it, and nothing but respect for you and continued success. We look forward to seeing it blossom into something really great.
Thanks, guys, and I appreciate your time and help promote the sport. You guys are doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. FightParrot.com, Richie Cranny. Check him out.